All right, I'm really excited to talk about this to my members. And if you're not a member, this might be something I offer to non members as well. This is in what I would call beta. I'm no real web developer. I tinker around, and I've been wanting to offer my members a way that you could get the same trade analytics that I get and have access to a trade journal that was private to you. So, what I'm thinking I'm going to do with this setup is I don't know how I'm going to charge for it, what I'm going to do, if it's going to be a one time fee to set up and then you're off and running. And as long as you're a member, you get access to it. Um, so, I'm not sure yet, so I apologize. I haven't settled that in my mind, but I want to show you what I'm working on. And if you're a member of mine, let me know if you're interested. If you're not a member of mine and you're interested in something like this, because it would be relatively cheap, to be honest, leave a comment below. So, trade analytics and journal dashboard. So this would be hosted on my website. You would have a username and password to get in here, and no one would have access to your data. So the first thing you would get is this trade ticket. Now, this is how I am going to be recording all of my trades this month. November is going to be record every single trade month back to that discipline that I used to have on hand recording these trades, but I'm going to do it digitally this time. I've done it digitally in the past as well. And I'm going to tell you the best way to do this is you finish your trade, you do your trade ticket, or you enter the trade, you've got a runner, you now have time, pull up the trade ticket and fill it out. Don't press submit yet because we still want to see how far that runner goes. And so this needs to be up on your screen all the time. And when you finish a trade, fill out your support, I mean, not your support ticket, your trade ticket. This gives you a breather before your next trade. It's a way to slow things down instead of rushing into your next trade. Because if you're using a 3 minute chart with us, you see these trades 6 to 12 minutes before they happen. Plenty of time to fill out a trade ticket. So let's just look at the trade ticket real quick. I'm not going to go into depth here, but basically it's going to put today's date for you. Um, which session are you trading? Was that a long or a short? What about trend? Which time frame was your entry? Is there any additional information you'd want to know? Was it against halfback in the opening and VWAP and you want to denote that? Check mark those boxes. Real simple. Was it a win, loss, or break even? I even track my misses because there's sometimes I say, you know what, I'm not taking this trade for whatever reason. And I've learned to that it's a good idea for me to go mark those as a missed trade. Okay. Number of contracts. Right now, I have this as mandatory. I'm going to remove that because if it's a missed trade, there are no contracts. So I need to go in and remove that as being a mandatory field. But for example, win loss is mandatory. We need that for our metrics. Okay. Your entry is mandatory. Your trend is mandatory. Shorter flat is mandatory. Which session you're in is mandatory. Okay. Did I over leverage? Check mark that box. How many points did I make on my runner? So if at the end of the trade you capture 20 points on it, come and put this in here because in a minute you're going to see with it I'm keeping track of your highest runner. How do you grade your trade? At this time, this is how I have them here. Now the truth is, this is probably why I'm going to have to charge a one-time setup fee is if you want this to be different for you, um we need to discuss it and go in and make those changes. We'll probably pop on Zoom and do those changes together at the same time. Um, so you can do that. For example, I don't want you to press submit yet because you might add to your winner. Leave a note below right here. Leave a note about that. I added to a loser. Leave a note below. And then this is where you put in your notes about the trade. Why did you take the entry? What was the exit? What was your reasoning? What was your thoughts? What's your emotions? What was your expectations? How did you deal with risk management? Did you take any deviations from your trade plan This is where brutal honesty to yourself might be important. Screenshots. I published a video a week or so ago about taking screenshots as you're trading. So now that you're doing this trade ticket, as soon as you enter, take a screenshot and just drag it right here, and it will add it to the record. Okay. Super simple. Um, And if this trade is important and you want to easily access this trade at a later date, check mark this box. Okay. So this is a trade I want to review later, perhaps on the weekend. I'm going to go back and look at every trade I marked as important. Okay. Now, this is embedded here, but if for some reason I did not want to do this here, I could hit this little link here, link to the form, and it will pop up in its own tab. Okay. So just know that that's there. So then the next tab over here says records. This is all dummy records. I just put in some dummy records. um, but here's all the trades that you entered on the trade ticket. Okay. They're all right there. So if you made a mistake and you need to go back, this is where you would go back and correct any mistakes. Okay. This is also where you could come in here and say, you know what? I want you to go and group these things. By win loss. I want to see all my wins and losses grouped together like that. Yeah, I like that. I want to do that. You know what? Then I want to not only do the win loss, I want you to divide them out by session. And this is just a crude way to go in and sort your trades. Okay. You can also download these transactions as a CSV file if you wanted to download them and do something more fancy in some different software that will be available. Important. This is where you marked the important trades. Okay. This is them in their raw form. You probably want to scroll over. And for example, on this one, I just screenshotted the screen I was doing. You click that, and there pops up your image. Okay. You can download that picture as well right to your computer. Remember, you can also download the CSV file. So way to review your trades. This is where having these detailed notes would be very helpful than you trying to go back in time and figure out what the heck you did. So include screenshots at the beginning of your trade, in the middle of your trade, at the end of your trade. That way you don't have to go back and try to recreate your lines. The more screenshots you have there, the more I think that'll be beneficial to you. You want to get rid of these things, uncheck mark this box. Because these boxes are check marked, this is why they appear in the important category. If you uncheck those boxes, they will disappear. In fact, let's go ahead and actually, I can't do it in this view. I'm gonna have to make sure I have the link to the actual base so you can make changes, or I need to work on the permissions. See, this is why it's in beta. Let me see over here. Can I uncheck this? I can't work with the document. I'm gonna have to go in and work on permissions where you can do that. Okay. Okay. All right. Hey, this is why we do this. Analytics. So these are my initial dashboards of how are you doing? What is your winners, your losers, your break evens, your number of points on winners, losers, break evens, win losses, number of entries by session. Like I said, this is just dummy data. How many would I take in the AM? How many did I take in the afternoon silver bullet? How many did you take during lunch? How many longs versus shorts? Okay, so some analytics data, and you can scroll down that page. How am I trading with the different trends? How am I trading with the different entries, backsides, front sides, break levels, 1 minute, 3 minute, whatever we'd want to put in here. Once again, this is why there'd have to be some kind of setup fee, because if you needed this a little differently for you, we could work on that together. And that's exactly how we would do it. We would do it together on Zoom. Um, and how am I trading based on sessions, the AM session versus lunch session versus silver bullet versus overnight? How am I doing on Mondays? How am I doing on Tuesdays? Okay. So this is the analytics part of the dashboard. And then if I hit journal here, what it really does is it just tightens up this little drop down thing. And so it brings this up. Okay. This is always down here. So let's go ahead and let's hit like records for a second. If I scroll down this page, the journal's right there, but I found it easier just to have journal here, and it pulls up. So your journal entry, once again, it'll put your date, notes, good, bad, brutal honesty, but also be kind to yourself. Don't be calling yourself an idiot over and over. That doesn't really help. You can take yourself to the woodshed for a second, but then build yourself back up. What was your biggest lesson today? That'll be neat because we'll keep track of those biggest lessons where you can see them at a glance. Um, what were the results today? Was I green or red? And how was my discipline? This is something we do at the end of each day and at the end of the week. Are there any screenshots I would want to include in my journal record? Um, and then is this important? Again, check mark this box if you would like this journal entry to appear in a different spot. I'll show you here in a second. History, here's all the trade journal entries. Once again, these are all dummy entries. Um, so if you click marked it as important, it's going to appear over here as important. This is something I want to go back and review. You just click this little box, it will pop up. If there was an attachment right here, you can just click that picture and it will enlarge as well. It's very nice. And then biggest lesson. So these will appear these little as little cards is what they will appear as little cards. And I think over time, this would be really cool to go back and see all your biggest lessons as a review before you start trading today. I think looking at those would be very helpful. So the more you put into this, the more you're going to get out of it. What do you think of this, guys? Let me know. Leave me a comment. Show me some love or show me some hate, whatever you want to do.